These celebrities are way poorer than you think. We'll work our way down the list of the poorest celebrities out there. Stick around to find out who's the most broke of them all. We've saved them till last, and trust me, you'd never guess who it is. But first, number 17, Nicolas Cage, $25 million. Okay, we know what you're thinking. 25 mil is a lot of money, but think about this for a second. Reese Witherspoon is currently worth $440 million. I don't know about you, but I know a lot more people who love Nicolas Cage. So why is he $415 million short of her net worth? Well, it might have something to do with how weird he is. Around 2010, he was earning roughly $40 million every year, with a net worth of about $150 mil. So he spent it. He bought more houses than I can keep track of, and they're pretty impressive. There was a $25 million Newport Beach home, a haunted mansion in New Orleans, not only one but two European castles, and a whole island located in the Bahamas. Then, of course, he needed stuff to fill his weird houses with. So, he bought a pet octopus worth $150 grand and a dinosaur skull that must have been worth about $1 per ounce at $270 grand. That's about what you were expecting from Cage, right? His fun ended in 2009 when he lost several properties and he realized he owed $6 million to the IRS for unpaid property taxes. Oops. When you think about it, it's kind of impressive that he's bounced back to $25 million. And it shows, because the next person on our list hasn't got anywhere near that much cash. Number 16. Michael Rosenbaum, $2 million. Michael Rosenbaum has a legion of fanboy followers thanks to his roles in Smallville and his voice work on The Flash and Justice League animated series. He should have stuck with it. In 2008, he quit Smallville, saying he wanted to move into comedic work. Only nobody wanted to hire him for comedies. He got roles in a few sitcoms, but they didn't last. Now his net worth is about $2 million, but we can't help but feel it would be a lot higher if he'd just been Luther for a few more seasons. But even though Michael had a big fan base, it's easy to mess up at his level of fame. But the next person on our list is an icon, so it's pretty shocking that he has even less cash. Number 15. MC Hammer, $1.5 million. MC Hammer was all over the airwaves when he released the hit Can't Touch This. It's rumored that the song was such a hit that by 1991, he was earning $30 million per year. And that's with $70 million already in the bank. So how'd he end up with only $1.5 mil? Sadly, he blew it all by acting too rich. His big expense was a $30 million custom-built mansion with indoor and outdoor pools, state-of-the-art control panels for everything in the house, and 3 waterfalls. Which is exactly 3 waterfalls more than anyone needs. He refused to do anything for himself and had 200 staff members to keep everything in order, costing him about $500,000 per month. And we haven't even mentioned the horses and expensive cars. As you can probably tell, he was spending more than he was making. In 1996, he finally filed for bankruptcy, but he was already $13 million in debt. He's bounced back big time since then, but still only has $1.5 million. A lot less than he could have had if he hadn't blown it all. At least that loss was 100% MC Hammer's fault, but sadly the next person on our list lost all their money through problems that weren't their fault. Number 14. Kelly Rutherford, $1 million. Gossip Girl and Melrose Place star Kelly Rutherford would have been seriously wealthy today if it weren't for one thing: she wanted to see her kids. Here's what happened. In 2006, Kelly decided to file for divorce from her multi-millionaire German businessman husband. She was pregnant with their second child at the time, but she had good reason to leave him. He was not a good man, and has been accused of involvement in fraud and even terrorism through illegal weapon stealing in South America. But the courts didn't care. Even after she got a restraining order, they maintained a shared custody arrangement. That became a huge problem for Kelly because her husband was deported. He took their kids to France, and if Kelly wanted to see them, she needed to travel. She had to pay for an incredible 70 trips to see the kids, which meant she couldn't work. And she was also having to pay millions in legal fees for the divorce and custody battle. In 2013, she was forced to file for bankruptcy. But if you're hoping it was worth it, we have some bad news. Her husband was eventually awarded sole custody of the children. Kelly only has visiting rights. So she lost her millions, and her children have been told to live with a terrorist. The only good news is that Kelly is now worth $1 million, but it's a lot less than she should have. The next story on our list isn't so sad, but like Kelly, the next celeb also filed for bankruptcy. Number 13. Curt Schilling, $960,000. Curt Schilling was one of the biggest names in baseball, earning an incredible $114 million over his career. After retirement, he decided to go into video games. He created a company called 38 Studios, but this turned out to be harder than he thought. Eventually, to get things rolling, he invested $50 million of his own money, plus a $75 million loan from the state of Rhode Island, and a couple other loans between $5 and $10 mil from other small investors. You can already see where this is going. A few bad financial decisions and failed deals later, and he was filing for bankruptcy. But it wasn't just any kind of bankruptcy. He was $150.7 million in debt. We don't know how he bounced back. Maybe it was just his commentary job that helped him out, but he now has about $960,000. Under the circumstances, that's pretty impressive. At least Curt was trying to spend his money wisely, even if it definitely didn't work out. The next person on our list can't say the same. Number 12. Lindsay Lohan, $800,000. Lindsay Lohan was one of the biggest names in Hollywood at the turn of the millennium. In her Herbie Fully Loaded days, she was being paid a reported $7.5 million per film. She was even once paid $1 million to pose for Playboy. By the time she was 18, she was worth about $30 million. But even though that's seriously impressive, it was all downhill from there. Famously, by the time she turned 23, she'd been to rehab 3 times. She was apparently spending a shocking $5,000 on drugs every week. To make matters worse, her drug problem meant she couldn't be insured for any more acting roles, and her work soon dried up. So, after earning millions before she was even an adult, she's now worth only $800K. Some say even less than that. Lindsay isn't the only person on this list who blew their cash for no reason. Just ask number 11, Evander Holyfield, $500,000. Not many people are lucky enough to have a 20-year-long career in boxing, but Evander Holyfield achieved it, along with an Olympic bronze medal and a whopping 4 world heavyweight champion titles. All of that meant he earned about $230 million from prize money alone, but he couldn't hang on to any of it. Between lavish spending and problems with the IRS, he lost all his cash, his mansion in Georgia, and even his bronze medal. He currently has a net worth of only $500,000. But I guess you can't be on top of the world forever. If you're thinking Evander Holyfield is unique among celebrities for not paying his taxes, think again. The next person on our list found herself in trouble for the same reason. Number 10. Janice Dickinson, $500,000. Janice Dickinson has been hot property in the fashion industry for over 40 years now. She even called herself the world's first supermodel, and nobody felt it was right to argue with her. But apparently, all that and years of judging America's Next Top Model hasn't saved her from bankruptcy. She had to file in 2013, claiming she had just $19,000 in assets, but $1 million worth of liabilities, including more than $500,000 in back taxes. Somehow she's got out of the red, but she still doesn't have anywhere near as much money as you'd expect. She has just $500,000 in her bank account. I guess we can learn something from this. Always pay your taxes. Of course, there's more than one way to lose all your cash. The next person on our list had his own way of blowing it. Number 9. Dennis Rodman, $500,000. Basketball superstar Dennis Rodman managed to fall into the same trap that a lot of sports stars are familiar with. He ended up heavily in debt when he was ordered to pay $500,000 in child support, which he'd been avoiding for years. This happens to a lot of people in his field. In fact, a reported 60% of NBA players go bankrupt within just 5 years after retiring. Dennis has bounced back though, and currently has $500,000, which, let's be honest, isn't as much as he should have. That's all pretty bad, but it could be worse. He could have come from a family of successful people like the next person on our list. Number 8. Stephen Baldwin, $500,000. Think every member of the Baldwin family is as wealthy as Alec Baldwin with his $70 million net worth? Think again. Alec's brother, Stephen Baldwin, is a famous actor in his own right. He's had starring roles in huge films like The Usual Suspects and Born on the 4th of July. But these days, Stephen might actually be more famous for being Justin Bieber's father-in-law. But even with all that money floating around in the family, Stephen actually went totally broke. He filed for bankruptcy in 2009. That was probably the right choice, because he was $2.3 million in debt. It won't surprise you that it took him 10 years to pay it all off. But it cost him. He's currently only worth $500,000. It's surprising when an actor with starring roles loses all their cash, but it's less surprising when someone from reality TV blows their money. But even so, the next people on our list still burned through millions for a shockingly stupid reason. Number 7. Heidi Montag and Spencer Pratt, $40,000. The infamous reality show couple Heidi Montag and Spencer Pratt had hit the big time. Their show, The Hills, and other appearances had gathered a huge net worth of $10 million for them. Sadly, they weren't very clever with the ways they spent it. Rumor has it they were actually trying to blow it because they thought the world would end in 2012. That probably explains the $3,500 bottles of booze they kept purchasing. They never filed for bankruptcy, but did have to bring in a financial advisor when they realized they didn't have any of their $10 million left. Today, they've bounced back a little, but they're nowhere near the financial level you'd expect a celebrity to be at. They've only got $20,000 each. Oops. Losing millions was entirely their own fault, but the next person on our list had something else to blame for his financial problems. Number 6. Gary Busey, minus $500,000. Some of our viewers are going to find this hard to believe, but you'll just have to trust us when we say that Gary Busey was once one of the best film actors in America. Yes, we do mean that Gary Busey. So how did he go from that to the person we know today? Well, in 1988, he was involved in a serious motorbike accident. It was so bad that he actually died. Some skilled doctors managed to bring him back to life, but he was injured so badly that he still suffers from permanent brain damage. In other words, he's basically a walking reminder of the importance of wearing a helmet. As you can imagine, this affected his career in a big way. He wasn't getting any big roles anymore, which obviously affected his bank account. But his brain injury also caused money problems for him because he's not capable of making rational decisions anymore. In 2012, it finally got the better of him, and he was forced to file for bankruptcy. He was $1 million in debt. Today, he's doing a little better, but not much. He's still $500,000 in debt. Busey's career was cut tragically short, but the next star on this list doesn't have the same excuse for her money issues. Number 5. Terry Polo, minus 800 grand. Terry Polo found fame thanks to the Meet the Parents films, which grossed an incredible $1 billion worldwide. But that wasn't her first taste of success. She was already a successful model before that and has worked as an actress for 4 decades, starring in over 100 movies and TV shows. That's a seriously impressive career, but her net worth is nowhere near as impressive. In fact, it doesn't exist. She's currently $800,000 in debt. It's not clear exactly how that happened. We know she was sued by her landlord for refusing to pay rent from a year before her lease ended. When she finally left the apartment, it was a disgusting disaster inside, so she was sued by her landlord for that too. But he was forced to drop the lawsuit when she filed for bankruptcy, which she did legitimately because she owed about $1 million in back taxes. We have no idea where the rest of her money went, but we'll bet she just spent it. We've had a lot of stupid reasons for losing money on this list, but the next person took that to a whole new level. Number 4. Randy Quaid, minus $1 million. As a star of huge blockbusters like Independence Day and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, you'd expect Randy Quaid to have millions in the bank. But actually, he's spent a lot of time over the last couple of years running from law enforcement and collecting huge hotel bills while hopping around the country. But why? Well, the answer is pretty weird. He seems to have lost his mind. No, seriously. He and his wife claim they're throwing away Randy's fortune for a very important reason. They're trying to escape the Hollywood Star Whackers. According to them, the Star Whackers are a secret underground cult that assassinates actors to steal their fortunes. It's an exciting idea, but we have our doubts. And not just because Randy is worth less than $1 million now. Some say he's even $1 million in debt already. In other words, I don't think any assassin cults are interested in killing him for his money anymore. Randy Quaid created his own problems, but the next person on our list did all the right things. It was people he should have been able to trust that ruined his bank balance. Number 3. Aaron Carter, minus $2 million. Aaron Carter was doing Justin Bieber before Bieber even thought about becoming a star. At just 14 years old, Aaron was one of the hottest pop stars in the world. He'd already gone triple platinum before his 15th birthday. By the time he was 18, he'd switched to reality TV, believing that nothing could touch him because he had earned $200 million throughout his career. But his bank accounts had been managed by his parents so that he'd only be able to access them when he became an adult. So he first had a look after his 18th birthday, knowing there should have been at least $20 million waiting for him. But that wasn't what he saw. Instead, there was just $2 million in the account and a $4 million tax bill waiting for him. But that can't have been his fault. He couldn't touch that cash until now. It turned out his parents had been mismanaging his funds and spending his money behind his back. That was pretty tragic because he was forced to file for bankruptcy as a result. He's tried everything to undo the damage his parents caused, but he's still sadly $2 million in debt. It's a pretty heartbreaking story because he did nothing wrong. It's always worse when someone loses millions because someone else made a stupid decision. Luckily, the next star on our list was the only person to blame for his loss of cash. Number 2. DMX, minus $10 million. Rapper DMX should have been set for life. When his debut album dropped in the early 90s, it sold a whopping 250,000 copies in the first week. He'd sold an incredible 30 million albums by the time he went broke. But how did he do it? Well, simple. He decided to have 15 children, but not pay child support. And that wasn't even the only thing he didn't want to pay. He owed another $2 million to all kinds of creditors, including major banks. And he had also been ignoring his taxes, which had piled up to a giant $2.3 million. When he filed for bankruptcy, it was revealed that he had $0 in the bank. He eventually decided to sell the platinum albums he'd earned on eBay to make ends meet. They didn't help him much though, because they sold for only $3,000 each. Today, he apparently still owes an incredible $10 million. It looks like you can't run from your responsibilities forever. And there's one more thing you can't hide from, as the last star on our list will prove. Number 1. Teresa Giudice, minus $11 million. Real Housewives of New Jersey star Teresa Giudice made a fortune appearing in that hit reality show. But like we've seen with lottery winners, sudden wealth can trick you into believing that you have a lot more cash than you actually do. She started spending crazy amounts on sports cars, fancy parties, and too many high-end shopping sprees. Then she made an even bigger mistake. She ran out of money and kept spending anyway. Somehow she spent so much that she found herself $12 million in debt. She seems to have lessened that amount, but only by a small fraction. She still owes an eye-watering $11 million. It'll take most people more than one lifetime to fix that mess, so we don't think it's looking good for her. These celebs had the world at their feet before they blew it, but not all famous people make the same mistakes. In fact, some have done the complete opposite and now have way more cash than you'd ever imagine. Want to find out who they are? Click now.